But that color, that specific composition is new.
This is new.
It's a patent with a certain percentage of titanium, atoms of titanium and carbon, mixed in a way that give you a grayish tone and the capacity to reflect the light if polished in a way which is very powerful. And this ceramic cannot do. And even the cermet that you have in other examples, they were very much darker or brown or very strongly anthracite, almost like a DLC or something like that. But this color in particular was a premiere. So it's something that I had seen already before entering the company in Parmigiani, and then we worked for 3 years to make it happen. You have difficulties in the constraints of the material because the supplier wanted security tolerances, so the design was awful. The first case that we saw had the lugs that were exiting the round shape by 1.5 millimeters, so it was like Dumbo had the ears. Like, it was too big. And so they said, no, we're not going to do an ugly watch. I mean, if the material has these limitations, we're not going to use it. So we challenged the supplier to reinvent the composition of the case, decomposing the design in 14 different parts, because you cannot polish, you can treat the surface, which is unscratchable, only with diamonds. And so you cannot do two finishings on the same component. So for instance, the bezel that has the noodle part and the polished part, the bezel is done in two parts of cermet that have to perfectly match to do one component, which is the bezel, to give you the idea of the complexity of this development. But that is to respect the design. So the technical side is at the service of the design. It's not the opposite. No, so you have to respect the creative idea, and you have to overcome every technical constraints that you have in order to respect that. The only concession we did, that is 0.5 millimeter wider than the regular sport case, but the proportions of it are respecting the design. So, and that was challenging the construction of the case. No, so you have to overcome every obstacle in that interferes with your creative idea.
When I saw it in real, in flash, I was fascinated by how sparkling it is. It's insane, like, because usually black absorbs color and or light, and then for the last few years there's a trend regarding ceramic, but the certain kind of material that you chose, it's like, unless like literally like no, like sometimes maybe like very polished certain kind of materials are also reflecting, but nothing I have ever seen was together coming with black. And on the one hand, this is what I find technical marvel and great idea, but like you said, like it was a tedious process. And like, was it something that I'm trying to understand how, like, did you know that this will be the outcome, or like had you had a sense for that it will be really so reflecting how it is? And at the other hand, like, it's black, it's dark, it's again subtle, it matches again with the brand identity, it's not too loud, it works very comfortable, and you get like for like a sport wristwatch, you also get like a new feeling, like of wearing this. Like, was this known, or was this part of the process where you discovered this later on?
I think after 25 years of developing watches, you build a projection of your understanding of the potential of what a prototype that you see or a material that you see. The first thing I saw was a round shape of the material. There were 4 different colors, and we picked the one that we thought more luxury. But what came immediately to our mind was this luxury lust that the cermet that was shown has. And is that metallic touch. You have that cold metallic feeling that ceramic doesn't have, and that elevates the luxury experience. The color was also very interesting because it's elegant. It's not dull black or anthracite. It's something that reflects the ambient in a very powerful way. So we started launching a prototype, but the first prototype was done in steel. So it's not the material. You do a PVD treatment copying the material because you had to invest 100,000 Swiss francs to see one component.
Mm.
So uh, before seeing investing 100,000, we tried to simulate how we would, and the simulation wasn't really. It was giving a potential, but it wasn't the outcome. So we did a bet. We said we have to invest, and if we're happy, we have spent wisely 100,000 Swiss francs. If we don't like it, we throw away 100,000 Swiss. And for a brand like us, it's not a small amount of money. So it's important that we do it wisely. So we did it, and we saw the components 6 months before Watch Them Wonders, and we saw the prototypes. They were not perfect yet because the tolerances are so small that the parts were not easy to assemble. So we had to correct certain things, but the aesthetic of the watch was with. So we confirmed the subnet in October last year, more or less, October, November. And then the watch, when it was finished and came out of production, was even more beautiful. This is something that you always see, and the prototypes don't get to the level of allure that the production pieces. And at the end, you get an extra reassurance when you start seeing the pre-series, and the watches you assemble for the fair are probably the last 1% of that conviction that you have that you're doing something nice comes from seeing the product from production. And but you have to project yourself. You have to believe. You have to be positive. You have to look the glass half full, not half empty. And then sometimes you make it, sometimes you break it.
Mm. Mm. Oh, I like that. That's I like that. It's pretty good, and the perfect frame for the next part. Hi, I hope you enjoy this interview so far. And even though it's more than 2 hours long, we didn't had enough time to cover everything. Some things left unspoken, some things needed more context, more detail. And that's the reason why we decided to create a 40-page workbook. It's free of charge, and you find it in the link below in the video description. Now let's go back to the video.
So when you start coloring ceramic, you go to a cheaper mode, no? When you start seeing blue ceramic, or I think ceramic works in black and in white, but when you start injecting a pigment in it, it passes on a more plastic feeling, and this material respects that luxury lust that the metal has. But it's very difficult to go outside those tonalities, no, because it's the nature that gives you that color. It's the mix of carbon and titanium atoms that gives you this color, and you can do it a little bit brighter, a little bit darker, but that's it. That is the level of chromatism that you can go. There are other studies that are going in other direction, but still not yet there. So we have to work together with the supplier to continue this evolution.